welcome back to the channel. I'm Stasia Bliss. We are getting into the next rune. So some time goes by. Interestingly though, the last rune I did pull was the Hagalaz. That was the last one in the series, which is the hailstorm. And since that pull, I have been in a hailstorm up in Wyoming with giant hail. So funny enough, I'm like, okay, we're past and through that. We're going to go to Nauthiz today. These are my new wooden runes. Aren't they lovely? So Nauthiz, it actually, sorry, it's not focusing. There we go. It is like a slightly off-centered X. Okay, so Gabo is the perfect X, right? And Nauthiz is a slightly off X. And it's like two sticks rubbing together to make fire. So one interpretation is the need. In Celtic language, Nauthiz would also be pronounced need, N-E-I-D, but it is like interpreted as the need fire. Okay, another interpretation is not this, like not this, not this, because there's an element of resistance with the energy of this rune. So just like that resistance is actually needed to make the fire start. So you're rubbing, you're creating the heat, the friction, you're like, oh no, it's getting hot. It almost seems like you don't want to do it, but you do. It's that painful interaction that sometimes brings the evolution, or pretty much always brings the evolution moment if you allow it. So this rune is the resistance to something that you must then endure, because there is benefit to it, right? And it's also the rune that reminds you that external troubles, like the things that rub you, they're pointing to something in you. So it's an opportunity to recognize shadow stuff, right? To go within and to analyze your internal dark zone and what you have suppressed in order to make this time of endurance a beneficial one, right? So it is considered one of the more, negative runes, along with Hagalaz with the hailstorm. And some of these runes, they're just challenging. Thorisaz is also considered one of the more negative, but the negatives bring the positive, right? They're the things that bring change and that invite us through a transformative journey. So you may not want the friction. You may be saying not this to the thing happening in your life, but we can take some wisdom from the runes here, especially in this time period now that we're working with Nauthiz together. If you're following me, or whenever you find this video, this time period in your life is going to show some signs. That's just how the divinatory stuff works. Whenever you're finding this, like there's a point at which you are crossing paths with me and with this rune, and it is this point where it's highlighting some maybe difficult things in your life journey, maybe some resistance points, maybe some things you felt like you had to endure, or that you don't want to endure, that are somewhat painful. I made myself a few little notes here. I like to, when I'm studying the rune, draw it out. I like to write it down and write like key words, so that when I'm working with it, even if I've already studied it, even if I feel like I have a good grip on it, there's something about even drawing it and writing, like the root word is not this. That's, in yoga, we say that is kind of like like I equate it to a root lock, like the place we're bound at the root, right? Just like a tree or a flower has a root, a plant has a root, something it's sourced from. And so if it's sourced from this idea of not wanting this, then it's almost like we really do have to turn and look at it, because why are we being so repelled from it? There's something in there, right? There's some kind of something, and actually the gift rune lies within the capacity of this rune, right? All you have to do is just kind of straighten the rune out a little bit, and suddenly you're a gift So this is the energy when it feels like progress is impossible, and it might be impossible right now. With the negative rooms like Hagalaz, it's kind of not really in your control that you're in this place. Like, this is just the place the energy has brought you to. But this rune, unlike Hagalaz, which is like there's not really anything you can do, you ride it out, right? And you receive the benefits later. This is like what you can do is you can do shadow work. You can go within to that place of resistance and look at it. You can take care that your resistance doesn't look like spouting anger onto other people. That's also a teaching of this rune. It's like, okay, even in resistance, calm should be your normal state. And if it's not, it's like, how do I get there? That's all the yummy shadow work stuff. And I say yummy because it really is the juiciest stuff that we can retrieve spiritually in our life to better ourselves and to become more powerful. It seems dark and scary. It seems like we don't want to go there, and it's better just to bypass it, and it's better just to, like ignore it or want it to not be there or be angry about it. But what's true is it's the honeypot. The shadow stuff is the honeypot. So it's like this rune says this is survivable, but it's not just survivable. I love one of the quotes from one of the websites I like, which is runesworld.com. There's some great definitions, and it'll look at your relationships and the rune, and I like understanding that a little bit more. But it says your need to get patient and wait until this period ends. So there's a cultivation required. There's some ducks just flew over, so I was so noticing. A patience needs to be acquired to get through this. So how do we acquire it? I mean, patience is a practice, right? Otherwise, it's just, it can turn into a tantrum. It can turn into disgruntledness or bitterness. Patience is a very different energy. Patience is a deeper trusting that something good will come of this, that there's a process going on that I have to get through, right? It's almost like when you're a kid and it's not Christmas yet. It's the beginning of December or it's the week before, and it's like there's nothing you can do. Like, you can scream and shout all you want for your presents all week, but it's just not happening. And the best thing you can do is get excited about it. Like shadow work in that case would be not to pout, to look at how good it is to wait, how good it is to build this excitement, right? And use that resistance training to make you stronger, just like we would with weights, right? We think resistance training is good when it comes to working out and being fit physically, but Nauthiz is about being fit emotionally and spiritually. And so utilizing this energy to minimize losses is a good phrase. Minimize losses, because when we're uncomfortable, we can do some regretful things. And that just gives us more shadow work for later. It's fine. But if you want to burn karma or whatever, like get through things and see what's the next to come, with having minimal work to do. So that's kind of the goal, right? Even though sometimes, we feel like we want to work hard or we need to, and we're kind of getting flabby. So the universe gives us like a load of stuff to work on. Like, you haven't had any challenges for a while. You're getting kind of lazy emotionally or spiritually, or you're taking things for granted too much, like, or you're being really ungrateful. These are ways the universe kind of can assess whether or not we are in need of Nauthiz energy. This doesn't pull up all the time. I haven't pulled this rune in a really long time. And except for in a specific situation where I knew that's exactly what was going on, it's not like your daily pull unless it is, unless you're in that mode of, yes, it seems like disaster. It seems like conflict. It seems like delays and restrictions and just things not working out. It seems like that. But this invokes the creative solutions, the innovation, right? The will to overcome, the fortitude, the rooting and grounding into something. And it's like, this is where we feel our own weaknesses, And if you're, if you're doing a sport or the gym, like you kind of want to know that. And then you just work really hard. If you're like, well, my legs are really weak, I got to go do extra leg work, you know? Or in your diet, if you're like, I'm just not, believe me, this has been my whole life, I'm just not gaining enough weight, I need more fats. It doesn't seem to work for me, my metabolism, but, I need more protein, or I need more whatever, I'm not getting enough magnesium, apply it to your own life. But you understand what I'm saying in that case. But Nauthiz, the more spiritual and emotional and mental places in us, we disregard sometimes. And we just respond in a programmed way, or the way society would expect you to respond to something like that. Like, of course, you're going to respond to such and such a thing in life in said manner because that's what's societally expected. But when we use spiritual principles, when we use the runes, when we use divination, when we're interested in these things, it's because we know that there's some power in breaking the societal norms and getting out of the box of expectation and choosing, if you want to be trendy, a higher timeline. It seems to be the phrase everyone likes right now, but that's one way of saying it, to choose a higher timeline, to choose a different version of reality that doesn't include the old program. And that way we are growing, right? We are transcending the old. We are becoming, if you will. We are adventuring in life and evolving and growing up and maturing. And some of those words are boring. So I like to say, we're adventuring. We're glowing up. We're activating, right? We're becoming more in tuned. We're syncing up with the greater reality system when we function from a spiritual standpoint, which is, okay, old reality says resistance is bad. If something is delayed, that just means it's not for me, or, I mourn my fate of this is the way things have gone. From this standpoint, we're saying, wow, this is quite a rub, universe. This is quite a rub. Let me be with that and feel the feels and draw up my greatest version to meet that, because this is like an endurance game, and endurance is strength. Endurance is core strength. It's really like your integrity as a being. How tight are you woven? And that can be positive or negative, right? Sometimes tightly woven means uptight and easily breaking, right? Easily coming out of integrity. And then there's tightly woven, like, I got it all together. I understand that when life pushes on me in a certain way, that is my cue to deeply breathe into it, to rise to the occasion, if you will, for a common, phrase, or to meet that thing, to push into it, to test myself against it, to see if I have what it takes, right, to meet the challenge life has given me. And, there's a lot of people where you look at and you're like, dang, that is way beyond what somebody should be asked to endure. And sometimes you feel like that in your own life. And I truly feel like if you have a heavy load, you have an enormous amount of power available to you, an enormous amount of spiritual power that you have probably accumulated over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And that these hard things right now are your keys to unlocking those storehouses of energy that you have worked for in many lives, take this moment as a test. Let this resistance that you feel to it be a time of innovating your consciousness, filling the emptiness, dropping into it like calm, looking into it like one would do into an obsidian mirror, right? Look into the blackness, peer into that complete void and emptiness that feels maybe like terror or fear or great loss. Okay, it's like you can give it some tears, but the goal here is not to get stuck in it. The goal is to see it now from a divine perspective. And sometimes this is hard, but we can ask ourselves, what gifts are being asked of me through this time of patience? What possible things could I bring forth from this that would be good, that would benefit humanity, that would be more powerful? Is it making me wiser? Not like because I'm never going to make that choice again, not in that way, but is it making me uh, find that I have more capacity than I thought? Is it making me recognize my depth? Is it showing me how deep my heart is? How much ability to love I have? Is it showing me how beautiful I am? Is it showing me that I can do anything? Is it showing me I can even hold space where I'm uninvited, that I'm that beautiful and that kind and that glorious? And sometimes we don't want to be. Sometimes we don't want to be, and we must associate with some of the darker energy, and we must say, I can be angry, and that's beautiful too. I can be a monster and be worthy of divine grace, because divine energy contains all and is grace. So the not this, and I'm going a bit long on this, but I just feel like there's so much in this room that we can benefit from in life right now. And yeah, the hardest thing is that suppression zone where we think what we must experience is unacceptable. This is an invitation to go there, and this is why I love that in India the tantric path has even a one that might seem even darker called the Agori. And it's literally any path can be a path to the divine if you make it holy, if you bring love there, if you bring God consciousness there into the darkest places. And this rune invites us to do that right now. There's a lot of this dark in the world. So can we be the presence of love there? This is literally what the idea of like Jesus sitting with, what the society would term the outcasts and the downtrodden and the shunned. This could be real, but also metaphorical for, can our light, our love, our truest essence sit with and in all the suppressed parts of us, all the difficult things in the world, all the things we hate and judge out there? Can that part of us sit with it and find calm and peace, acceptance and space holding? Can we honor this as sacred?